how do you differentiate between an operational vehicle and an armored vehicle?
Suleiman, I said it for emphasis that we itemize. We said they should itemize those what they call the request, which they itemize in black and white, and there's no armored vehicles in those items. I don't think, okay, except if you are now telling me a Corolla is an armored vehicle, or a Corolla or a Hilux, and they were itemized. So, and there is only a place where a BMW bulletproof car is. If it is there, I will tell you, yes, it's there.
So how does it work? When finally they bought those operational vehicles, as an oversight function, did you get to see them physically, physical inspection?
Yeah. In the course of the that exactly I can't confirm really now, because when those vehicles are bought, it's not as if you have to go okay, as they are being purchased, you have to be part of the purchase and at least be seen that those. It is when you go for oversight function, when you take up the budget in that agency, for instance, you said, okay, XYZ items were bought. Can we cite them? That happens in oversight functions. You can go and say, okay, what do you call it? You have appropriated X amount for so item. Can we see, especially when they are not consumables, and a car is not consumable. It's something you can see. And I said that even if you cannot be in a haste to say that as an institution we have not done our job so rightly, because the year is still running, and that how this thing came about is as a result of proving and asking questions that some of these things begin to come out.
Well, the way and manner it came out, well, is still, debatable, because for some, they would say since it didn't come from the assembly, it's not as a result of the oversight function of the committee in the assembly. But from the look of things, I want to go back to where Mark left off in the question of getting monies by the NCAA. How does it work? Do they have the powers to spend such without recourse to the assembly's approval?
No, not even NCAA, for every agency of government, the law is this: if you must first and foremost capture the amount. What I mean capturing is disclosing that in the year we are going to get counterpart funding from maybe an international donor agency this way, BASA this way, that way. All the sources of your revenue must be made open to the assembly. That's before you do in every year. We're expecting source of revenues from 1, 2, 3, 4 sources. It's criminal not to disclose either. So you have to make sure you capture everything. When you now capture, depending on the law establishing the agency and the aspect dealing with IGR, just like I told you, there are some agencies that after capturing, some amounts is left for maybe certain operations that look professional. They could say a percentage, but first and foremost, you must disclose. When you disclose, you can now begin to act on that aspect, because there are revenue generating agencies, for instance, of government, like the customs. I tell you, it's a revenue generating agency of government, but the laws empower them to use certain amounts of their monies to do their operations. So of the revenue to do certain operations. So they must first and foremost tell you that as customs we have realized X amount, but out of the X amount, percentage this representing this is for so purposes. So these things must be in black and white and be made clear. But first and foremost, you must capture it for the purposes of projections and for the purposes of records.
Yeah, Honorable Zachary,
right.
In spite of all these processes and procedure, and with due respect to the National Assembly, but the perception out there is that some agencies, I dare say, of government, take the oversight function or the committees or the National Assembly for granted because money exchanges hands, and so they can as well just go ahead and do certain things. And some give example. They say, look at the pension matter. Where has it gotten us today? Look at the Farouk matter. Where has it gotten up today? And you have so many committees, so many infractions, and no rich man, they say, goes to jail. And so they all keep going around in circles and cycles. And after the talk and talk, nothing happens, so they think we'll all go the same way.
Okay, Chamberlain, I tell you that in the parliament, what we have separation of power. The parliament does not have the powers to prosecute. What the parliament will do is to tell you that XYZ infractions have been made. This exactly is recommended as punishment. That is what the parliament will do. And that the process of implementing or executing our findings, it's the responsibility of an arm of government entirely. So for us, we had blown whistle a number of times on several issues. You have mentioned some of them. Farouk matter is in court, and we as a house have taken our position on that matter, and it's still there in court. And there's the Attorney General of the government, the Office of the Minister of Justice. These operations or these issues have to be tackled by them. The pension matter, recommendations were made and of course passed somewhere. So I think we need to continue to look at each time that some of these things come and we throw the bulk entirely to the House or the National Assembly. I don't think it is in most cases always correct. I'm not saying that we have a very perfect system as an institution, but at least we're trying as much as possible to ensure that we do our bit. And that exactly, power of prosecution is on the hands of legislature. We can only recommend punitive measures for infractions that happen. And that exactly, it's within the confines and the powers that the law gave us to operate.
All right, in about 10 seconds, if you can. I mean, this invitation that the House has extended to the minister, is it going to be made public? I mean, will the public be allowed to see what's going on? Perhaps not held behind closed doors, that's what I mean.
No, I'm sure it's going to be public because public funds were used in this matter, and that going by experiences, we will definitely want to make it as much as possible public before cameras, so that Nigerians will have a take on it. Because what will happen is that stakeholders that are coming, or whoever is invited, including the predecessor of the current DG in NCA, all of these people will be called together, and everybody will say what he knows, what role he played in this fact. And what we are trying to do as a parliament is not to enchant anybody, but to go around the facts, and we will place the facts, and at the end of the day, we can only do recommendations. And our recommendations, I hope they will see the light of the day. When we recommend, in most cases, we have tons and tons of them. But it is the responsibility of another arm of government to follow up on this recommendation. Because, for instance, the power of prosecution, the power of melting down sanctions is the responsibility of an arm of government, which of course does not reside with the legislature. So we would, as much as possible, it will be made public, I assure you, and after that Nigerians will be in tow with what developments in that direction.
All right, Honorable Zakari Mohammed, Chairman, House Committee on Media and Publicity. Thank you for speaking with us today on Sunrise Daily.
I appreciate it.
All right, we're back in just a moment. Please join us again.